At this point, we've talked about 3 stories to show the value of faith, 5 strategic tools to help you improve your faith. So let's look at 4 steps to help you activate your faith. 4 steps to lead you to that place you want to be. 4 steps that get you in the direction you want to be. Because at the end of the day, we can choose 2 different paths. We can choose to believe things are not going to work out for us, or we can choose to believe that things will work out for us. They're both belief. The question is whether or not it's good or whether or not it's bad. Napoleon Hill, who counseled millions of people, helped millions of people succeed, he had this to say about it. Faith is not something you get. Faith is something you already have, but you may be using it in reverse gear. By believing in circumstances and things that you do not want, the thing you fear. So the question is, are you focusing on what can go wrong, or are you focusing on what can go right, which is faith? You know, I counsel a lot of people on goal setting and success, and one of the things I always tell them is to make sure and frame your goals in a positive way. For instance, if you want to stop smoking, the last thing you want to say in your goal is, I will stop smoking. Because it focuses you on what you don't want. Every time you say your goal, you're saying what you don't want. You're reminding yourself about smoking. It's like saying, I don't want chocolate cake. All you're going to think about all day long is chocolate cake. Instead, we need to realize that we need to frame things in a positive way. Don't think of a pink elephant. What are you thinking of? We got to look at it differently. Instead, if I were telling somebody to frame their goal, I would say, put it like this. I breathe only clean air. And then I would tell them to have a deadline by which they'd accomplish that. This puts us in a positive frame of mind. It shows us what we do want. And we need to focus on what we do want, not what we want to avoid. Or not believe that bad things will happen. We need to believe that good things will happen and head toward the good things. And that's the type of thing that will help our faith grow. So how do we grow our faith? By exercising it. The same way if we want to get muscles, we go to the gym and we exercise, so we physically exercise. The same way that if we want to grow our brain power, we read more, we solve puzzles, we learn new things, so that our brain power grows and we get more mentally sharp. In fact, there's some research that has come out that says there might be some link between learning new things like languages and instruments that can reduce your risk for Alzheimer's. Very interesting. And the same way that we can grow willpower by exercising it. In fact, there's a really interesting study on this. I want you to imagine that you've been asked to participate in a study and you've been brought in a room like this. There's a table and a chair, and on the table, a bowl full of cookies. Not too bad. Now you're told you need to wait in that room before they can give you the test. So please just wait a little bit, there'll be a little bit of time, and they'll be back, but help yourself to the cookies. Or you could be in the second group. I mean, it's almost as good. They've still got the bowl of cookies on the table, but they've also got this delicious bowl of radishes. What more could you want? In fact, you're told you can eat all the radishes you want. Just don't touch the cookies. No problem, right? So the researchers leave the room, and then they wait a while, and then they come back, and they say, okay, here's the test. We've got a problem for you to solve. It's really difficult, but please take your time and stick with it as long as you can. And so they gave this test. But what they didn't tell the participants is, number 1, this was actually what they were studying, how long they would stay on the test. And number 2, there was no solution to the test. What they found is the people that were able to eat the cookies lasted twice as long than the people that had to avoid the cookies. See, it seems that willpower is a finite resource. We only have so much of it. They had to use their willpower on the cookies, so they couldn't use it on the test. But as you know, if you've ever changed your lifestyle in some way, It may start out hard at the beginning, but you can grow your willpower and expand it. So just like we can grow our muscles, just like we can grow our brain power, just like we can grow our willpower, we can grow our faith. I'm sure we all heard what Jesus said when He said that faith is like a mustard seed. That's a mustard seed. Look at that thing. It's tiny. But if you have that much, that's where you want to start out, with that much faith, a little bit of faith, and grow it, and keep expanding it, and keep growing it, and keep growing it, until you get to the point it's a huge mustard plant. And that will help you, because the more faith you have, the more you will believe and be motivated to do the work. Because you're going to have to do the work. You can't just believe you're going to have six-pack abs and then have a six-pack of donuts every day and expect that's going to work. It's not. You've got to do the work. Think about it like this. I'm sure a lot of people in the room have had a house for sale. I've had a couple for sale. And it's tough. You've got a lot of work to do when you put a house on the market. There's a lot to do. If you don't believe that it's going to sell, if you think the market's soft, it's not going to happen, you're probably not going to put the work in. But if you think that the market's going great, you're going to do the work right away. Faith is the motivator to do the work. And the work makes the faith realized. They go hand in hand. You have to have the faith to do the work. But you have to do the work in order for the faith to have any bearing on anything. Now, I told you about my story. I told you that I came here with little or no connections, no furniture, and I was having a tough time. I tried to make everything happen. I made connections with some local clubs, with the gym, with local churches, and I just was not making any headway. I put out my resume to try to see if I could get a local job, even though I have a great job and had a great job at the time. I tried all kinds of things, updating my resume, updating my websites, but nothing was working. I was bound and determined to make it happen, to do what I needed to do to make it happen. And I did the work, and it got me nowhere. But then I started to believe that things would happen. I started to let go of my control and start believing that even if it didn't work out like I wanted, that things could happen and things could fall into place. And that's when things started to happen. In fact, it was last year. It was at the seminar I did for health and wellness. And I did this with another person, and the other person that I did this with, they told me, they said, Dave, you need to let things go. You're trying to make something happen, and you're holding it all in a place where it's just not going to get anywhere. And it took me a while to realize I was trying to force something that wasn't ready to happen. The problem was that I was trying to take a shortcut. I knew how I wanted to get there, but there were lessons to learn along the way that were very necessary that I wasn't ready to learn, and I wanted to skip right by them. And that's the thing. We have to believe and know we're headed in the right direction. We have to do the work, but at the end of the day, we've got to let it go and believe that even if it doesn't go our way, if we're going in the right direction, it will go the right way. And then the pieces start to fall into place. So you've got your moment of conflict. You've got the point where you have the moment of insight. So let's finish that story. Let's put the resolution in that story. Now, I want you to realize, of course, resolution doesn't mean the problem goes away. I'm sure all of us have stuff that we struggle with, and maybe we've been struggling with it for quite some time, and we probably will still struggle with it. Faith is not a way to get rid of problems. Faith is a way to find out how to be energized and excited and know that we're going to do just fine despite our problems, and that it's going to be okay, and we don't have to be in control. We simply need to believe that we are headed in the right path and that we're going in the right direction. So, let's look at the 4 steps to activate our faith so we can come up with our resolution. The 4 steps, once again, are to think positive. Focus on what you want. Focus on the right thing. Don't focus on what you don't want. Focus on what you want. And then you want to exercise your faith. Find ways to maybe start small, but then grow it over time. You need to do the work. What are the steps that need to be taken in order to make it happen? And finally, let it go. You don't have to have control. It's not up to you to decide where you end up. Life's not going to bend to you. But it's okay, because you're going to end up where you're supposed to be if you just let the pieces fall into place. So take a few minutes, and then we'll wrap up. So let's go ahead and wrap up. We can look through that door to the future, and we can see a better life. Because science shows us that faith is a great tool to have a better life. At the end of the day, faith gives us confidence. It helps us realize that we can not only survive, but thrive. And that confidence can lead us to action, where we can actually move forward and do what work we need to do to make something happen, which can lead to accomplishment. Maybe little accomplishments at first, but then bigger accomplishments over time. And those accomplishments lead to more confidence, which just make that mustard seed of faith grow. And that leads to a better life. So let's recap what we've talked about. We talked about 5 strategic tools that will help you improve your faith. The first thing, the next time you pick up a pencil or a pen, remember to smile. Remember that your attitude has a huge impact on how you feel about things and what you can accomplish. The next time you get dressed, remember that the way you present yourself, the way you move through life, impacts how you feel about yourself and your abilities. So remember to carry yourself in a way that you realize that you can accomplish a great deal. The next time you're at home or at work and you're looking at your surroundings and it feels a little oppressive, it doesn't feel right, find a way to brighten your surroundings. Having that day after day can wear on you. Find a way to make it a better situation. The next time you're feeling down and struggling with something, remember to focus on things that are positive and will lead you to where you want to be. And the next time you feel overwhelmed, remember, do you have too many choices? Do you need to limit what you're looking at? That can keep you from feeling overwhelmed. And then once you have those choices narrowed down, remember to find the right choice and make it the right choice. And the 4 steps to activate your faith. Be positive. Remember, a positive focus is much better. We can always complain when things don't go the way we want them to, but that does nothing but focus us on the wrong things. Instead, focus on things we can be glad about. Focus on things that we can be happy are in our path. Remember to exercise your faith. Keep expanding it. Keep trying it out. Keep growing it over time. And do the work. Faith means nothing without the work. Faith is the motivator to do the work, but the work still has to be done. And then, don't try to take control. Let the pieces fall into place. And that will lead you to a better life.